This is Bomb Hoops Podcast.
What is up, guys? This is Palm Hoops Podcast hosted by Jem and Jello. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click the notification bell to keep you updated on our latest releases and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Follow us as well on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account. Just check the description down below. Yan tol, with another episode of Legacy, let's talk about perhaps one of the best shooting guards of all time and also of the modern era. This is Dwyane Wade. Yan, for Dwyane Wade, accolades, he's a 13-time All-Star, multiple All-NBA team member, and also the Finals MVP of 2006. Maraming nagawa to si Wade sa career niya, and perhaps yung 3 championships niya yung greatest accomplishments niya, particularly yung first championship niya.
And syempre, yung sa first championship kasi niya, wala pa kay si LeBron James nun eh. Talagang mas I think, mas hard-earned kesa sa, I'm not saying na hindi nila pinaghirapan yung 2 championships nila na magkasama ni LeBron. Pero, parang hamak naman na underdog sila nung 2006 compared to the Dallas Mavericks. 'Di ba? Na they were down 2-0 nung series na yun. They only came back. And medyo controversial pa nga yung manner na nag-comeback sila kasi medyo maraming free throws yung binigay kay Dwyane Wade nung series na yun. And up to this date, marami pa rin mga Mavericks fans na hindi pa rin matanggap na natalo sila noong 2006. Pero nakabawi naman sila noong 2011. So I think that's enough.
And for me, yun yung best performance ni Dwyane Wade sa buong career niya. Yung 2006 finals na yun. Assuming na all is fair in that series na, sige, assume na lang natin na ganun nga yung nangyari. Tsaka isa yun sa mga arguments nung time na yun na maybe the Cavs made the wrong choice of taking LeBron. Maybe Dwyane Wade is actually the best player in the draft. Kasi at such a young age, Finals MVP, to be able to perform like that in a high-level, high-stake series, hindi yun basta-basta. And LeBron took some time to actually be able to do that. In particular, it took Dwyane Wade to be actually able to do that. It took the mentorship of Dwyane Wade.
Yeah. And yung si Dwyane Wade naman, no 2006 finals, dun siya nakilala talaga eh. I mean, yes, he was a good player nung 2006 season. Pero it was all about Shaquille O'Neal eh. And in fact, Shaq made the All-NBA first team nung 2006. So, parang si Shaq pa rin yung pinag-uusapan sa team na yun. Pero nung finals, ang nag-shine talaga si Dwyane Wade. So, parang dun siya nagpakilala na I'm in the same level as these superstars. And after that year, he's become a consistent all-star na. And naging scoring leader pa to and a runner-up in the MVP. Just behind LeBron James. Ang nangyari nun is, sobrang ganda kasi talaga ng record ng Cavaliers nung time na yun. And Dwyane Wade was actually struggling by himself. So maganda yung stats na yun. And he was even one of the top defenders nung time na yun. Sadyang he wasn't blessed with the best teammates. Tapos yun siguro yung nag-separate sa kanya from the all-time greats is hindi niya kinaya magbuhat ng isang team. Like hindi niya kinaya na mag-succeed without a solid na partner, na superstar partner. Kasi si Kobe, I can say na nag-succeed siya without a legit superstar na partner. Siguro si Pau Gasol, ganun. Yes, he might be an all-star, pero he was nowhere near the Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, yeah. Pero with Dwyane Wade, it took LeBron James and it took Shaq also for him to be a champion. Na, malaki yung talent difference pagdating doon.
Kaya you can argue na perhaps sa mga championship seasons na yun, perhaps Dwyane Wade wasn't even the best player in that team, 'di ba? Especially dun sa back-to-back championships niya sa Heat. Given naman na si LeBron James yung best player. In fact, he was the back-to-back MVP nung 2012 and 2013 season.
I think yung isang argument lang ni Wade would be nung 2011 finals, had they won, I think siya yung finals MVP. Because he was having the better series over LeBron.
Siguro, it's more of, sabi nga ni Skip Bayless, ang paborito naming sports writer, is it was the worst playoff collapse of all time na sinabi niya kay LeBron James. Pero yes, you can argue na perhaps Dwyane Wade or Chris Bosh was the MVP of that series if they won. Pero hindi pa din like si LeBron pa din talaga yung best player nila.
Had they won, baka si LeBron yung maganda yung performance. Kung maganda yung performance niya, they probably won because of LeBron.
Yeah, and like what we said in our previous videos, the Dallas Mavericks weren't supposed to win that series. Parang no one picked them to win the championship that year. And talagang they proved the doubters wrong. Pero ayun nga, babalik tayo sa sinasabi ng mga media people na more on LeBron James issue to rather than the Mavericks succeeding.
I think yung best years nga ni Wade, nasayang kasi nandun yung point na struggling yung team niya. He had decent teammates, Sean Marion, he had maybe an old Shaq, nagkaroon din siya ng, if I'm not mistaken, Jermaine O'Neal, na naging teammate din niya. Tapos, he also had yung Michael Beasley.
Oh, maganda yung laro ni Michael Beasley noon. He was the number 2 pick. Tapos, he was number 3 sa Rookie of the Year race noon, just behind OJ Mayo and Derrick Rose.
Ayun nga, unfortunately kasi, even though Dwyane Wade was playing perhaps as I think he had an argument in 2009 and 2010 as the better shooting guard over Kobe. Because he was still playing elite defense, whereas Kobe, yes, elite defender, pero it was more of by name na nung at that point of Kobe's career na dinadala na kaya siya nag-All-NBA first because he had that identity or established an identity as an All-NBA defensive first teamer. Pero the effort was different with Dwyane Wade because Dwyane Wade had to work his ass off talaga. Dahil walang hindi mo aasahan yung backcourt mate niya na si Mario Chalmers to be an elite defender. So he had to defend the best point guard or the best guard or sometimes both players at the same time.
And ang nangyari pa dun, because of injuries niya and shortage sa roster, there were times na Dwyane Wade was forced to play the 3 or the small forward position. Nahamak naman na undersized siya, pero he was holding his own against the bigger guys.
And isa pang accomplishment ni Wade perhaps is he's one of the few guards of the modern era to be able to average a block per game.
So, at the latter part of his career, medyo bumababa na siya. Pero, his whole career, he was he was averaging a block nga. And, actually, averaging 1 block per game. Normally, big men lang yung nakakagawa niyan. He was doing that as a guard. And ang malupit pa kay Dwyane Wade, he was able to become one of the best shooting guards of all time without actually having a consistent 3-point shot. So, ganun siya ka-gifted sa mid-range. Ganun siya ka-gifted dumrive. And, tingnan mo si Kobe, umaasa din siya minsan sa 3 points niya And the other shooting guards, normally, specialty nila ang 3-point shot. Si Dwyane Wade hindi. Parang mid-range siya and drive. And mostly drives, especially nung bata pa siya. Yung 3 points naman niya, nung napunta na siya sa Chicago, doon na lang na-develop Pero, hindi mo masasabi na kasama sa arsenal niya yung 3-point shot. And yet, he was able to be a scoring champion and be one of the best shooting guards of all time.
Ayun nga, I think, yun yung definition of an all-time great. It was mentioned before by Kobe mismo na, the great players, they have their moves. Alam mo yung moves nila you know when they'll do it, you know the tendencies. Pero hindi mo pa rin kayang pigilan because they're so good at it. And Dwyane Wade showed that with his mid-range shot and his slashing ability. Na kahit alam mo kung kailan niya iti-take, alam mo pag nag-pump fake si Wade, hindi yun yung shot niya. Alam mong he'll take 2 to 3 pump fakes before he takes it. Pero nagpo-fall ka pa rin doon sa fakes niya. Kasi gano'n siya kagaling.
And I think siya yung unang star player who was gifted in fishing out fouls. Na before James Harden, si Dwyane Wade, and perhaps you can argue na nagpa-flop siya, ganun. Pero it's an art yung gagawa ka ng mga pump fakes na you'll make your opponent reach in, tapos magsusungkit ka ng foul, gift yun eh. Hindi siya basta-basta nagagawa. I mean, tingnan mo, hindi naman lahat ng players nafa-foul ng ganun kadalas eh. So, it's a skill ni Dwyane. I think siya yung nagpauso nun sa mga guards. Kasi, dumadrive talaga siya eh. So, pag dumadrive ka, talagang makakakuha ka ng mga tawag.
I think na-adapt niya yun siguro kay Ginobili. Na, I think after Ginobili popularized the Eurostep, si Dwyane Wade yung isa sa mga unang nag-adapt ng Eurostep sa NBA. In fact, I think nung prime years nilang dalawa, they were the best Eurosteppers sa NBA. Silang dalawa.
And ayun nga, ngayon napakarami ng mga players yung nag-utilize nun. Sila Giannis, sila James Harden, and so on and so forth. Madaming players na gumagamit talaga ng Eurostep. And for Dwyane Wade naman, he's not that flashy, pero hindi rin siya simple. Parang nasa gitna siya eh, na alam niya paano ipipace yung sarili niya. Hindi siya yung super explosive like Westbrook or Derrick Rose. Pero hindi naman siya yung super timid like Andre Miller, mga ganun. Parang he's somewhere in between and alam niya paano i-pace yung sarili niya. And that makes him special kasi ginagamitan din niya ng utak yung paglalaro ng basketball, hindi lang basta athleticism.
Ayun, I think yung pinakamalaking argument na with Wade is nasaan ba talaga siya with the hierarchy of guards in the NBA all time, sa shooting guard in particular. Because we can argue MJ is the number 1 greatest of all time ng shooting guard. Probably Kobe sa second greatest. Now, where do we put him between AI and Dwyane Wade? Because if you remember, Dwyane Wade won a championship, won a Finals MVP. Pero in terms of pure statistics, AI was the way better scorer. And AI wasn't a minus defender. He was an elite defender. He averaged 4 steals a game in one season, once in his career.
Perhaps pwede mo ipasok yung regarding sa championships, ganun. Pero take into consideration din yung mga naging kakampi ni Allen Iverson. Like, wala naman siyang Shaquille O'Neal, wala naman siyang LeBron James. I'm pretty sure kung meron siyang ganung level of teammates, makakapag-champion talaga siya, si Allen Iverson. Pero going back to Dwyane Wade, hindi mo masabi kung nasan talaga siya. Kasi, like what I've said earlier, he was never the best player sa team niya when they were succeeding. Hindi niya nabubuhat yung team niya to succeed. Unlike the other elite players like LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, ganun. So, siguro medyo nasa area siya nila Scottie Pippen. In terms of greatness, not of possessions. Pero like alam mo yung feeling na they are great superstars pero hindi sila yung naging talaga nagbubuhat, ganun.
Wala silang argument for GOAT.
Oh, ganun. Yeah.
Yun na. And in my opinion, Dwyane Wade deserves naman the recognition. Pero, yun nga, kung titingnan natin, hindi siya pasok doon sa GOAT conversation. Para siyang KG, ganun. Same hierarchy sila nila KG, nila maybe to a lesser extent Paul Pierce and Ray Allen. They were great players for their teams. They were stars by their own rights, pero they were never at the level to be able to argue na, maybe he's the greatest player of all time.
Pero it doesn't mean na hindi na chupipay na player na lang tong si Dwyane Wade. Hindi. Sobrang lakas na ito and he was able to match up against the best players of the 2000s and gain success. He won a championship and he won a Finals MVP over Shaquille O'Neal in the same team. Something na hindi nagawa ni Kobe Bryant, di ba? So, you can't put that, take that away from him. And plus, I'm pretty sure hindi nag-champion si LeBron ng back-to-back sa Miami kung wala si Dwyane Wade.
Yeah, and I think personally, kung di man nag-wish si Wade na bumalik ng Miami nung final season nila sa Cavs na magkasama ni LeBron, I think he could have still contributed to LeBron in the 2018 finals.
Sadyang medyo nagkandaletse-letse lang yung front office ng Cavs kasi historically speaking, the Cavs front office is not really the best front office in the NBA. So, ayun, si Dwyane Wade naman, ang hirap niya i-assess sa mga ibang players kasi ang unique ng niya ang unique ng career niya. Pero like sa mga guards, siya lang nag-average ng 1 block per game. So another thing na hindi mo ma-take away from him. And he's a very underrated defender. I remember na siya yung tumatao kay Kobe Bryant every single matchup na meron sila. And he was doing a good job. And kaya niyang, not just in defense, kaya niya makipagsabayan kay Kobe. In offense as well.
On both ends. Kaya, I think, siguro, kung meron lang siguro mga time sa career niya na nagkaroon siya ng mga decent enough backups na meron siyang decent pieces around him, could have won a championship still na bago dumating si LeBron sa Miami. And maybe if he won championships before LeBron came, baka hindi rin sumama sa kanya sa LeBron because ba't ako sasama sa taong nag-champion na, di ba?
So, ayan. So, before we end this episode, like what we ask each other before we end a legacy episode, ano yung favorite memory mo of Dwyane Wade?
Ako actually hindi to in-game. Hindi siya something na napanood natin sa laro. Yung commercial niya sa Gatorade nung around 2013.
Yun ba yung yung nagising siya?
Yung nagising siya.
Yung kasama niya si Durant.
Tsaka yung isa pa na tawag dito, yung commercial niya looking back sa 2006 Finals MVP niya. Yung pinapakita lagi yung logo ng Gatorade tapos si Dwyane Wade. Parang sobrang throwback lang. Tapos, nung time na yun, I was kind of a new fan to the NBA. So, very, siya sa akin, very nostalgic siya sa akin na, wow, had I been a fan during that time, this would have been so awesome.
Tapos naalala ko pa nga yun mukha niya lagi yung mga nasa Gatorade bottles. Siyempre, di ba, pag mga nasa LMK high school, tapos pahilig ka mag-basketball. Yan? Parang ang pogi mo kung naka-Gatorade ka, tas yung mga kasama mo tubig-tubig lang, gano'n.
Nakapustahan nga ng Gatorade.
Oo. So, alala ko yung mga Gatorade nun, men. Yung hindi pa plastic bottles, yung yung babasagin. Yung sa glass. Ayun. So, tapos laging si Dwyane Wade yung Tapos yung pulang jersey pa nila na shiny sa Miami yung suot niya. Ayun, astig nung jersey na yun. Ako naman, favorite memory ko of Dwyane Wade was the triple overtime game against the Chicago Bulls. Yun yung siya yung nag-game winner. Yun yung year na na nag-scoring champ siya. Tapos, actually, ang dami nagsasabi na dapat siya yung MVP nung season na yun. And I partly agree. Kasi, alam ko 30 points per game siya nung time na yun Tapos talagang, siya lang yung nagbubuhat talaga sa team niya. So, hindi sila tumagal sa playoffs. Pero, yung stat-wise, I think he was the MVP of that season. Sadyang maganda lang talaga yung record ng Cavaliers. And I think the Cavs were 60-something wins nung time na yun. So, understandable na ibigay kay LeBron. Pero, I think Dwyane Wade was the close second of that MVP.
And with now, Dwyane Wade actually has now moved on to a different career na kung nasan din tayo ngayon, where we're hoping to be in maybe 5-10 years na nasa media. Yun. And I think he's actually doing well except nung time na nag-judge siya sa dunk contest.
Ayan. So, it's a 9 for me.
It's a 9. Pero yun, I think Dwyane Wade's doing great with his new career. And sana, yun na yan. Yun na yung maging next legacy niya. Being an analyst and an entertainer. Na actually, ang dalas nga niya mag-TikTok sa IG niya. Medyo nagki-cringe na ako.
Oh, and perhaps yung anak niya,
Oo.
si Zaire Wade.
Zaire,
Nakikita
oo.
ko yung mga one-on-one nila. And I can see some flashes of Dwyane Wade. And sana kasama ni Bronny James is madala nila yung makontinue nila yung legacy ng mga parents nila sa magiging career nila.
I wouldn't be surprised if they team up someday.
Tapos kung magkaanak din si Bosch no?
Oo. It has been another episode of Legacy. This time it's about Dwyane Wade and it was an awesome episode for us. And sana kung meron kayong mga suggestions about legends na gusto nyo pag-usapan namin, legends na controversial, we're open to doing controversial ones like Sean Kemp, yung mga ganun. Yan, we'll talk about that. Tapos kung meron kayong mga arguments about what we said, sure, comment nyo lang dyan. Yan.
Sige, kahit lateral Sprewell pa yan. Magre-research kami para sa inyo. Ayan, so... And to finish this video, again, this is Palm Moves Podcast. I'm Jem, and this is my partner, Jello. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace.